the majority of people in this country, maybe just barely, but the majority of people in this country believe that COVID is real and believe the data that shows unequivocally that the vaccine gives you some instances, relative to hospitalization or death, massive protection from getting infected. And they don't want to go into public spaces, particularly closed-in public spaces, unless people have taken full precautions. And, I think what's really astonishing about this dynamic, I think you've got to be a lunatic at this point to not want the vaccine, but people have the right to be a lunatic. But the resent and the anger and the righteousness from people who still maintain that COVID is fake, you don't need to take any precautions, that somehow it's offensive, the idea that a business would say, we just want everybody vaccinated because that's our business is sort of predicated on people feeling safe.
Well, now they care about discrimination, conservatives.
Right.
Right. When it's a public health issue.
But it is demented, and it is going to lead to not just horrible outcomes in the context of COVID. I think we're already starting to see the broad contours of where this might lead in terms of, not just in terms of social cohesion, but in terms of social health. The implications of this could resonate in a way that I think many people had not contemplated. Certainly I hadn't contemplated the implications of where this could lead years down the road. So not just in terms of temporally, but also in terms of like across the board on what it's going to do to things like public health. Let's, and here's what I'm talking about. Let's start first with the single most powerful elected Republican official in the country.
And the most influential politician of the past 50 years. Possibly.
Well,
or effective
within the context of the Senate. Let's I think Donald Trump has had a sway over the Republican Party that, I
should
think
have
is
said effective.
Unrivaled. Maybe Ronald Reagan had that, but I guess that was about 50 years ago or 40 years ago anyways. But Mitch McConnell, the one thing you can say is he really, really has control over his caucus in the Senate. That's the one thing you could say about the guy.
Right.
All the nasty things. And there's only one person, I think, who doesn't think that he does. And it's only in this one circumstance. And that person's name is Mitch McConnell. And it's in this circumstance.
How many times you all have heard me say this, but I'm a huge fan of vaccinations. As a polio victim myself when I was young, I've studied that disease. It took 70 years to come up with 2 vaccines that finally ended the polio threat. As a result of Operation Warp Speed, not 1, not 2, but 3 highly effective vaccines. And so I'm perplexed by the difficulty we have in finishing the job. If you're a football fan, we're in the red zone, but we're not in the end zone yet, and we need to keep preaching that getting the vaccine is important. Nobody knows more about that than Senator Blunt. I don't know if you want to add anything, Roy, to what I've said here, but we need to finish the job, and part of it is just convincing the American people of the importance of doing this. Everyone who knows this subject says that if you get the disease again, chances are pretty good you're not going to die from it if you get vaccinated. So I don't know how many times we have to keep saying it, but for myself, I intend to keep saying it over and over and over again. Roy?
Okay. Now, first off, kudos to Mitch McConnell for acknowledging the role that government can play in the development of vaccines, particularly in this day and age.
Sounds like socialism, but I don't know.
There's a huge amount, I would say, to Mitch McConnell that the government can do if we decide that we want to. And so I appreciate him acknowledging that. But imagine being perplexed. He says, I don't know how many times we have to say this. I don't know who the we is here.
The football metaphor, it's like it'd be like if you have three guys on your team, they're like, scoring touchdowns is bad, actually.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. We're in the red zone, but somebody should tell our
running
wide
back
receivers
is
and our running
quarterback.
Back.
What is that?
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine saying he's perplexed by this? Well, apparently the reporters who were there also can't imagine it.
Respectfully, though, it isn't all that perplexing. There are Republicans who are casting doubt on the vaccine. Senator Johnson hosting an event spotlighting the wear side effects. That's where this hesitancy is coming from members of your own party casting doubt on vaccines. What are your conversations with Senator Johnson, other Republicans who are casting doubt on vaccines?
Yeah, I've already answered the question about how I feel about this. I can only speak for myself, and I just did a few minutes ago.
Oh, you can only speak for yourself. That's a first.
I mean, if he's only speaking for himself, I have a question. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
He might as well be giving like a review of a TV show he saw last night. Gobbledygook. If you're not going to wield your power, which you love to do, I mean, he's the Tywin Lannister of the Senate, to use.
Why don't they just go and find a staffer to give that press conference? If it doesn't matter that he's the leader of the Senate, of the Republicans in the Senate, and it's completely irrelevant that he is making football metaphors. We get the team, all the teams here. I'm the coach. I'm the quarterback. And I'm not going to say anything to the running back who's decided to he's waiting to just kick a, I don't know. He's just like jogging down the other.
He gets the handoff and he sits down.
Yeah, he's like, he decides to throw the ball out of bounds or something. And this is the Democrats should be pounding on this.
Because
they should be. Think about what the Republicans say one thing about Ilhan Omar, and then the Democrats are tied up for 6 weeks dealing with it. The Democrats, they failed to do this with Mitch McConnell when it came to Donald Trump. They fail to do this each and every time. They don't seem to understand how to play this game. If you've got a reporter who's just sitting there going, wait, excuse me. I mean, seriously? How could you not understand what the dynamic is here? John Boehner refused to tell members of his caucus, stop pushing legislation that says that Barack Obama is not an American citizen. The Democrats should be calling on Mitch McConnell right now to censure Ron Johnson for going around and doing this. And here's the implications. It doesn't just end with COVID. Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.